Have you ever looked at that little plant sitting quietly on your kitchen windowsill? The one you water when you remember, the one that hasn't bloomed in months, and wondered if it's doing more than just existing. In the rush of American life, where even morning coffee feels like a task, it's easy to forget that the living things we keep around us aren't just decor. They hold energy, they listen, and sometimes they warn. Most people don't realize it, but certain plants are believed to carry more than oxygen and greenery. They hold intention, they shield, they attract. And if placed in the right corner of your home or at the wrong one, they can shift the course of your day, your relationships, even your sense of peace. We love our homes scented with lemongrass candles, our porches flanked by bamboo wind chimes, our backyards shaded by tall grasses. But how many of us know what these plants are actually doing to the energy we live in every day? We talk about good vibes, about decluttering, about grounding ourselves. But sometimes the most powerful shift doesn't come from burning sage or rearranging furniture. It comes from a quiet living thing you've walked past 100 times without seeing. There are 4 plants in particular, simple, beautiful, often overlooked, that ancient traditions believe hold the power to attract wealth, deepen love, and protect against the things we can't always name. They're not exotic or mystical in appearance. They don't scream for attention. But their energy, it's undeniable when you tune into it. And here's the truth. They may already be in your home, silently working or silently blocked. So before you buy another crystal or light another candle, pause. Look again at the plants around you. Ask yourself, are they just growing? Or are they trying to tell you something? Number 1, Kagon Grass, the unseen guardian of boundaries. You don't need to believe in magic to feel it. Sometimes it shows up in the smallest, quietest places, in the space between what you see and what you sense. And in that in-between, there's one plant most people wouldn't even glance at twice, Kagon Grass. Just a wild, stubborn blade pushing up through gravel paths or peeking out along the edge of a highway. We mow it down, we pull it up. We see it as a weed. But what if what you've been cutting away was actually protecting you? In energy-sensitive homes, Kagon Grass is known as a boundary keeper. Not a wall, not a guard dog, something softer, smarter, invisible. It doesn't ask for permission and it doesn't need recognition, but it knows where the energy shifts. It grows right along the thresholds, where calm turns to chaos, where outside becomes inside. And that's exactly where it does its work. Think about your home, not just the layout, but the feel of it. Is there a corner where you never quite feel at ease? A hallway that feels colder than the rest of the house, even when the temperature's the same? A spot that collects more dust, more clutter, more frustration? Energy doesn't always announce itself with flashing lights. Sometimes it trickles in, unseen, uninvited. Kagon Grass in old energy lore was never planted for looks. It was planted with purpose, to shield, to sense, to stand at the line and say, not here. And here's the deeper truth. Most people don't realize they're inviting things in just by omission. A front door that faces a long driveway without anything to slow the energy. A back entrance that's always open, physically or emotionally. A bedroom window left energetically exposed. That's where Kagon Grass belongs, not for decoration, but for direction. It slows things down. It sifts. It listens. While you're living your life, answering emails, making dinner, forgetting your coffee in the microwave, it's standing guard, quietly ensuring what doesn't belong stays out. But what happens when it's missing? There's a reason some homes feel off, and no amount of air freshener or organizing fixes it. Maybe you've had restless sleep lately. Maybe guests walk into your space and comment on a tension they can't name. Maybe you've started to feel drained in the very place that's supposed to restore you. And maybe, just maybe, that's because the boundaries aren't being held. Kagon Grass reminds us of a forgotten truth. Your space listens. It absorbs everything. Joy, pain, visitors, news, arguments, silence. And unless you actively protect its perimeter, those energies settle in and take root. That's why the most intuitive people, healers, designers, even those who don't use words like energy at all, place something at entrances, corners, or behind doors. It's not superstition, it's hygiene. Just like you wouldn't leave your windows wide open during a storm, you shouldn't leave your energetic doors wide open to whatever might wander through. If you feel scattered, if your focus slips the moment you sit down, if things keep breaking in one part of your home, pay attention to that. Look at the edges, the entryways, the forgotten spots. That's where Kagon Grass comes in. Dried or fresh, real or symbolic, it creates a signal. This space is aware. This home is conscious. This person is not passive. You don't need to go dig in the woods to find it. You need the intention of it, the presence. Some keep 3 small blades wrapped in thread near the front door. Others keep a bundle tucked in the glove compartment or in a pouch near their bed. Some people go further, planting a patch outside their home, not for beauty but for breathability. Think of it as the energy version of weather stripping. It doesn't change your house, it protects what's already working. But Kagon Grass also teaches something more personal. It reminds us we have internal thresholds too. Emotional doorways we forget to guard. A conversation that left you raw. A memory you thought you buried. An expectation that seeped into your heart when you weren't paying attention. What's tracking in and out of you all day long without permission? Where are your boundaries getting breached? In a world that glamorizes openness, oversharing, overextending, overcommitting, Kagon Grass dares to whisper something different. You're allowed to protect yourself, not with force, with firmness. Not with armor, with awareness. So the next time you see a wild blade growing by your driveway or pushing through the sidewalk crack, pause. Don't rush to pull it. Don't label it a nuisance. Ask yourself, what has this plant seen? What has it stopped that I'll never even know was coming? Because the most powerful guardians don't shout. They don't shine. They don't bloom in your favorite season. They just stand there quietly, day after day, keeping you safe without asking for credit. Kagon Grass may not be beautiful, but it is loyal. And sometimes loyalty is the most mystical energy of all. Number 2, white Epiphylum, the bloom for those who rise in the dark. They say nothing good happens after midnight, that the dark hours are for stillness, for closing doors, for sleep. But some things, some people, were never meant to bloom under bright light. Some souls find their brilliance not in the noise of the day, but in the silence of the night. And so does one of nature's most elusive gifts, the white Epiphylum. You've probably never noticed it. Most don't. It hides in plain sight, quiet, plain, almost invisible during the day. A trailing cactus that doesn't beg for attention like roses or tulips. Its leaves are thin, flat, almost awkward. You might even walk past it in a garden center and think, that's nothing, but you'd be wrong, because the white Epiphylum doesn't bloom in daylight, it waits, it watches. And when the rest of the world has gone still, when even the streetlights feel drowsy, it opens. Slowly, silently, and for just one night it becomes a miracle. A pure, otherworldly blossom glowing under the moon, wide as your palm, soft as breath. No warning, no pattern, just there. And then gone by morning. You see, this flower isn't meant for everyone. It doesn't bloom for noise, it doesn't respond to control. It's a reward for patience, for presence. For the rare few who are still awake when the rest of the world is looking the other way. And that's why so many believe the white Epiphylum isn't just a flower, it's a sign. A signal, a sacred message whispered in petals. Because sometimes the universe doesn't shout. Sometimes it waits until you're finally quiet enough to listen. In energy lore, the white Epiphylum is called the Queen of the Night. But unlike royalty that demands to be seen, she reveals herself only to those who feel. Her appearance is believed to be a blessing, an omen of turning points. Not just any success, but the kind that's been hard-won. The kind that comes after loss, after effort, after nights you couldn't sleep because you weren't sure you'd make it through. People who rise after being knocked down often keep this flower close. Not because it guarantees prosperity, but because it reflects it. It mirrors a journey, a person who doesn't bloom on command but blooms in truth. And when she opens, she does so fully. No hesitation, no shame. Just light, honest, and unafraid. So what does it mean if this flower finds you? Maybe you've been waiting for clarity, for a sign, for a break that doesn't feel like another test. You've done the affirmations, made the vision boards, said yes to all the right things, and still something feels unfinished. Not broken, but paused, like you're standing on the edge of a chapter that hasn't turned yet. And then one night you notice her, or maybe you dream of her, or maybe someone gives you a cutting without knowing why. Either way, something in you stirs. It's not a loud shift, it's soft but sure. And from that moment on, things begin to move. Not fast, not all at once, but deeply, authentically. And they don't move because the flower changed your life. They move because the flower confirmed that your life was already changing. That's the real magic of white Epiphylum. It doesn't bring success, it reflects readiness. It shows up when you're just strong enough, just tender enough to begin again. Think about it. A flower that waits all year or years to open. That stores up energy in silence. That blooms fully even though no one may see it. That vanishes by dawn without regret. That's not fragility. That's courage. In homes attuned to subtle energy, this flower is often kept in places of quiet transformation. Near meditation corners, bedside tables, or even tucked in sunrooms where the moonlight can slip in. Not for looks, but for presence. Some say if you sit with her while she blooms, without speaking, just being, you'll receive a message. Not in words, in knowing. And those who have experienced it describe a strange peace, as if something inside them realigned without needing explanation. Others say the bloom clears stagnant energy, not with force, but with grace. It's as if her petals sweep through spaces where pain got stuck, reminding the home and the heart that softness is not weakness and silence is not emptiness, that you can be unseen and still be sacred. And while science may reduce her to botanical wonder, a cactus with rare nocturnal blooming patterns, energy-sensitive souls know better. They know timing is everything, that this flower doesn't just grow. She chooses her moment. And in that moment, she chooses you. So how do you invite her? Not with effort, not with will, with stillness, with trust. Grow her in indirect light. Don't push, don't beg. Let her live. Water gently, speak kindly, and then wait. Maybe a season, maybe two, maybe longer. And one night when you've stopped asking, she'll open. And when she does, pause, don't take a picture right away, don't rush to post it, just be there, with her, with yourself. Let the light of that impossible bloom touch something inside you that forgot it was still alive. Because maybe you too have been waiting to bloom. Maybe you've been growing quietly through hard soil, through loneliness, through pressure. Maybe you've been told your softness is a flaw, your quietness a weakness, your patience a waste. But now, look, you're still here. And perhaps, like the Epiphylum, you weren't meant to bloom under everyone's gaze. Perhaps your moment comes not when the world is watching, but when you are finally ready to see yourself. And maybe that's the most sacred bloom of all. Number 3, Lemongrass Flower, the bloom that waits for the patient. You probably know lemongrass as that bright, citrus-scented stalk you toss into a soup or a tea kettle. It's fragrant, it's fresh. It adds clarity to a dish, maybe even a mood. But what if I told you that this familiar kitchen herb holds a secret? Not in its stalks, not in its oil, but in something so rare, most people will never see it in their lifetime. Lemongrass can bloom, and when it does, everything changes. Not because the flower is loud or dazzling. In fact, it's small, pale, often hidden among tall leaves. Most people miss it entirely. But in energetic tradition, this rare bloom is a signal, a quiet announcement from the universe. You've waited long enough. It appears not just as a biological fluke, but as a mirror of your timing, of your readiness, of a door you didn't know was waiting to open. Unlike popular flowers that bloom on cue, seasonal, decorative, predictable, the lemongrass flower is an enigma. It doesn't follow a calendar. It doesn't appear just because you followed the right steps. You could water it perfectly, place it in the sunniest spot, and still nothing for years. And then one morning, without fanfare, there it is. A single, slender bloom quietly declaring, "This moment is yours." The flower of lemongrass has long been associated with breakthroughs, financial, emotional, relational. Not because it causes them, but because it coincides with them. People have reported sudden job offers, unexpected reconciliations, inner shifts toward clarity or peace, all within days or weeks of the flower's appearance. Skeptics call it coincidence, but those who have lived it call it timing. Divine timing. So why does this matter? Because most of us live in a state of subtle urgency. We're always reaching, striving to get somewhere, fix something, manifest faster. We measure our growth by how visible it is, how fast we can post about it. But lemongrass doesn't bloom to impress. It blooms to affirm. And it does so only when the energy is aligned, not with the world, but with you. There's a certain kind of person this flower finds. They're not the loudest in the room, not the most assertive. Often, they've been through a slow burn, years of effort that didn't quite bloom the way they'd hoped. They've learned to show up without a guarantee, to pour love into projects, people, and dreams that may or may not pay off. They've grown comfortable with quiet hope, not because they've given up, but because they've evolved beyond chasing. The lemongrass flower finds the patient. And in doing so, it reminds us, slowness is not failure. Waiting is not weakness. Some blooms are so sacred they refuse to be rushed. Energetically, the lemongrass flower is said to open emotional pathways. It softens stuck energy in relationships, especially where there's been silence or distance. It draws in warmth, honesty, and emotional return. For singles, it's believed to signal the nearing of someone meaningful, not a fling, not a fix, but a mirror. For couples, its appearance is associated with renewed tenderness, long-awaited conversations, or a subtle return to emotional harmony. But its power doesn't stop at love. Financially, this bloom has been linked to what some call energetic unlocking. A slow project finally gains momentum. A long-pending decision gets approved. A stagnant bank account starts to move. Not in jackpot-sized miracles, but in aligned, meaningful turns. Like a closed valve finally loosening. Like a door you've knocked on for years quietly unlocking itself. And here's where it gets interesting. The lemongrass flower tends to appear not during your most powerful moments, but your most surrendered ones. When you're no longer gripping the outcome. When you've chosen peace over performance. When you've stopped refreshing the email inbox, stopped replaying the conversation, stopped timing your growth to other people's clocks. It comes when you've returned to yourself. And that's the real invitation this flower brings. To stop rushing your timing, to honor the stillness, To trust that some of the best things in life arrive not when you want them, but when you're finally able to receive them. So what do you do if the flower appears? First, pause, take it in. It may never bloom again. Don't post about it right away. Don't rush to attach meaning. Let it speak to you not in words, but in energy. Then consider what area of your life has been aching for movement. Is it a relationship? A financial leap? A sense of inner alignment? Wherever you've been patient or weary, that's the space being stirred. Some choose to preserve the flower, dried in a pouch, pressed in a book, tucked near a journal. Others make a tea or a cleansing bath from its petals, believing it amplifies clarity and gentle release. And some simply sit beside it for a few minutes every day it remains, using it as a meditative anchor, breathing in patience, exhaling resistance. You don't have to do any of that. The flower works on its own timeline. The point is not the ritual, it's the reverence. Because this flower doesn't come to those who push, it comes to those who prepare. And what if it never appears? That's okay too. Sometimes the flower lives inside you. You might be the one who blooms silently, faithfully, without needing applause. And if that's true, let this truth land. Just because no one saw it doesn't mean it wasn't magnificent. Just because it bloomed quietly doesn't mean it didn't change everything. Lemongrass reminds us that the softest things often carry the strongest messages. That patience is not passive. That sometimes the most powerful movement begins the moment we finally stop forcing it. So maybe your life isn't behind. Maybe it's blooming, slowly, quietly, in places only you can feel. And maybe, just maybe, the flower is already on its way. Number 4, bamboo flower, a bloom that ends one chapter to begin another. Most people have never seen it. Some don't believe it exists at all. And yet when it happens, it marks the closing of one era and the sacred beginning of another. The bamboo flower. It's not like other blooms. It doesn't arrive every spring. It doesn't follow seasons or soil schedules. It comes once, and only once. In the entire lifespan of the bamboo, sometimes after 40 years, sometimes 100. And when it does, something extraordinary happens. The whole grove flowers together. Then slowly it dies, not because the plant is weak, but because it has completed its purpose. It has given everything. It has reached a turning point that demands surrender. And from that surrender, something new begins. In the world of energetic symbolism, the bamboo flower is a sacred messenger, not of continuity, but of completion. A reminder that some chapters cannot be rewritten and shouldn't be. A sign that when something has run its course, we must stop watering it, even if we loved it, even if it once gave us shade. There's something deeply American about this discomfort with endings. We're taught to push forward, reinvent, reboot, start over but never stop. As if stopping is failure, as if closure is weakness, but bamboo doesn't agree. Bamboo waits. It grows tall and steady, and then without fear or hesitation, it lets go. So when the bamboo flower appears, whether in real life or as a metaphor in your own, it's asking you to pause, to honor what has run its course, to give yourself permission to end something fully without apology. Maybe it's a job that's drained you for years. Maybe it's a relationship that quietly expired long before you admitted it. Maybe it's an identity you've outgrown but felt obligated to keep. Whatever it is, the bamboo flower doesn't shout, quit. It whispers, release, not because you've failed, but because you've finished. This flower teaches what few ever do. Closure is sacred. There's energy in completion, in choosing to end something with grace before it forces itself into collapse. But there's more. Bamboo doesn't just die, it seeds. After it blooms, it scatters thousands of seeds into the earth. It gives birth to the next generation, not as a clone of the old, but as something entirely new. The old stalks fall, the grove changes, but something unseen begins to stir beneath the soil. That's what the bamboo flower represents. Transformation, not quick fixes, not surface shifts, but deep, undeniable metamorphosis. The kind that comes only after surrender. The kind that changes your roots, not just your leaves. If you felt like something inside you is quietly unraveling, if parts of your life that used to make sense now feel foreign or hollow, if your successes don't spark joy the way they used to, this flower might be speaking to you. Not to shame you, but to free you. In homes where energy is carefully curated, some people keep an image of the bamboo flower in transition spaces, near stairways, doorways, entry halls. Not because it's beautiful, but because it's honest. It says you don't need to fear the end. Endings are holy. They make room for breath, for clarity, for the you that's been waiting beneath all the noise. Some even carry a dried bamboo bloom or a carved symbol of it during times of change. Career moves, house relocations, divorce, graduation, spiritual awakenings. It's a grounding totem, a way of saying, I trust the ending. I bless the unknown, because the bamboo doesn't bloom when it's convenient. It blooms when it must. And so do we. There will be moments when you outgrow your surroundings so quietly, you don't realize you've changed until everything around you feels off. Small, heavy, wrong, that's not your fault, that's your signal. The energy of the bamboo flower invites you to stop asking what you should keep and start asking what you're ready to release. To stop chasing resilience as performance and embrace it as flow. Real strength isn't holding everything together. Sometimes it's letting something fall so the right thing can rise. If this flower finds you, symbolically or literally, ask yourself, what am I still carrying that no longer fits? What am I afraid to end because I've mistaken longevity for loyalty? What space could open in my life if I honored the completion I've been resisting? And here's the thing, you don't have to burn everything down. The bamboo doesn't rage, it blooms quietly, softly, and then it bows out. No drama, no collapse. Just completion. There is such power in that. So how do you welcome the energy of the bamboo flower? Begin by sitting with what's ending, not analyzing it, just noticing it. Let yourself feel the truth of it, mourn it if needed. Celebrate it if appropriate, but above all, bless it. Name it as complete. Don't drag it into the next chapter just because it's familiar. If you're in the middle of a transition, whether emotional, professional, relational, place something symbolic near your bed or your workspace. A piece of dried bamboo, a stone, a handwritten note that says, "It's okay to move on." Let it anchor you, let it remind you that change doesn't mean collapse, it means clearing, because the real gift of this flower is not the end. It's what comes next. New soil, new rhythm, new shape, and perhaps most powerfully, new identity. The you who blooms after the letting go is not the same one who held on. They are softer, wiser, freer. And the world they build is rooted not in fear, but in self-honesty. So if today feels like an ending, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to label it. Just breathe. You may be closer to the bloom than you think. Final, not every plant changes a room, but some shift the very air around you. The 4 plants we've explored, Kagon Grass, white Epiphylum, Lemongrass Flower, and bamboo flower, don't just grow. They respond. Each of them teaches us something that modern life often forgets. Energy is real. Not the kind you plug into a wall, but the kind that surrounds, shapes, and silently influences everything we do. And when you understand that, your relationship with your home changes, with your timing, with yourself. Kagon Grass holds the line. It teaches us to protect what we allow in and what we let go. It honors boundaries, not to block life, but to shape it with intention. White Epiphylum shows us the power of blooming in the dark. It whispers that not all growth is visible, and some of the most powerful breakthroughs happen when no one's watching. Lemongrass Flower reminds us that patience is a superpower. That surrender is not giving up, it's giving way, to allow what's meant for us to finally arrive. And Bamboo Flower shows us that true transformation begins with closure. That letting go is not the end, it's the beginning of breathing again. Together they tell one story. You don't need to force your life into shape. You need to align with it. Your home is more than walls. It's a living space that listens to your energy. Your path is not behind or ahead. It's unfolding quietly, moment by moment, in the places you're brave enough to be honest. So take a deep breath. Walk through your space slowly. Pause in the doorway. Look again at the plants around you, not as decorations, but as allies, signals, teachers. Maybe they've been speaking to you all along, and maybe you're finally ready to hear them.